welcome to Touchstone Staff Slide Night. Woo! Thanks for a great week. It's been a blast. Shout out to Blacksmith crew. You guys nailed it on the cleanup today. I'm sorry I couldn't have been there to sweep with you, but I'll be sweeping. Don't worry.
Go Ceramics.
Go Ceramics. Cool. So I'm gonna do a little presentation here. You get to see some of my life. Right? So, how do I do this? Right, so that's my name. And then I put former child because it's kind of like I'm 23, so it's kind of like a reminder to me as to like why I still do dumb stuff and can't explain it. It's like, I'm just like this kid, still don't know how to smile. But as a kid, I was kind of like, I was a handful for my parents. My mom used to always tell me that not everything is a science experiment. So I always was like squeezing stuff out on our furniture and kind of a pain. And I remember one of my earliest memories is the movie Tarzan, and he has a stone spear. So as a 5-year-old, I was like, oh, I'm gonna grow up to be Tarzan. And I was, as I went on, I wanted to do other stuff. But I grew up in Lebanon County, and this is the sign. I'll tell you that I'm from Hershey, but that's a blatant lie. That's the dressed up version. This is where I grew up. And the do not enter sign right as you enter the town. Pretty spot on. So I say Hershey.
A welcoming small town.
Yeah, small town living. It's a post-industry steel town, but 20 minutes from there is Hershey. So that's where I tell people it's a landmark. But the town that I'm from is known for this succulent delicacy of Lebanon sweet bologna. So it's either chocolate or this garbage. So as an adolescent, I was really interested in various thinkers. I was reading a lot. I didn't really partake in a whole lot of school activities. I did sports, but I wasn't really involved. So I was really interested in reading, kind of learning, and I was really connected with nature. And Walden and Emerson, those types of thinkers. Ayn Rand is a big one, Leo Tolstoy. I was reading a lot of them as in high school, and that kind of really crafted this idea of being an individual and self-sufficient and not relying on anyone but yourself. So back to that Tarzan idea, right? Remember that kid? I was like, oh, I'm gonna grow up to be Tarzan, and then like I turned 18, and I was like, I was really interested in primitive skills, so I was like, I might actually turn into Tarzan. But I was teaching myself how to make stone tools. So that's an opalized or synthetic opal arrowhead made through a process called flint knapping, right? So that's not me, but kinda. So you take a rock and you basically hit it with another rock, but the rock that you're hitting, the first rock, breaks in a predictable manner. So I was really interested in this, and I wanted to basically run off into the woods and be a hunter-gatherer. So I made a lot of these arrowheads out of like found materials. These are bottle bottoms. I was digging through trash since I was 13, just looking for bottles. Or in the woods, this is a naturally occurring volcanic glass called obsidian, which fractures at the micron, which is kind of unique. That's a stone that's dacite. But after I took a year off after I graduated high school, and I was really adamant about carving out my own path. And at the time, I was toying around with blacksmithing. I was interested in making knives as it goes. But I was turned on to the New England School of Metalwork. It's in Auburn, Maine. It's in beautiful countryside. So I saved up a bunch of money and decided to take a month's worth of classes, and this is where it starts. So that's my first leaf. I was so proud of these objects when I made them. I took a month's worth of classes, one intro pattern welding, intro blacksmithing, and then a knife making course. And I made a bunch of this now garbage, but I put these in here because we had an intro class this week, so it's cool. I really wanted to connect with you guys and be like, yeah, I still have this stuff. So, but then after I got into metalwork, I was interested in more refined objects. So there's this movie called Treasure Planet based off of the book Treasure Island, and in the movie there's this object that's the map to locate the treasure planet. although it looks just like a simple sphere with some lines and dots, if you press them in a sequence and turn them in a certain manner, it opens up into this vibrant, colorful map. So that really resonated with me as a child. And as I got into metalwork, I was like, what's the real life equivalent of this? So then I was starting to look at these refined objects that harbor secrets. So whether that be, it's mostly locks, so whether that be keys or a padlock. This is a really excellent example. It's a door lock at the Chicago Museum that illustrates the story of Snow White through some kinetic movement. A Nuremberg box, that's the closed lid. It's just like these incredibly refined objects that are not only beautiful, but they also harbor secrets. If you notice on this one, there's a keyhole at the top, as opposed to what you might infer, that's a false keyhole. So it's like all of these objects that contain secrets. That's where I really enjoy it. And I just love the embellishment and refinement of them. So I was looking at like keys, tools, something as like a flintlock. And then I applied to Peters Valley School of Craft to be the assistant, which is in Lake, New Jersey. It's very similar to here. You're immersed in the Delaware Water Gap area, so surrounded by nature once again. So I was the assistant there, and again, I had the opportunity to teach and do public demonstrations and really kind of hone what I wanted to do. So I made some small tools. I got interested in utilitarian objects, so not just hardware or locks or boxes, but things that you use on the daily. So utensils, some hardware. And again, this is all stuff that I look back and it hurts, but this body of work allowed me to really kind of develop some more hand skills. I like working with hand tools. And then after I left Peters Valley, I saw this giant potato. And then I used this previous body of work to apply to Penland. So there was a concentration, which is a 2-month class taught at Penland in the fall. And there were these two metalsmiths, Peter Ross and Seth Gould, who were team teaching a class, and their work really resonated with me, just the refined objects. So I spent 2 months taking a class with them as a work-study student, working and living at Penland. Although I was learning a lot, I didn't really make anything that I was incredibly proud of, mostly just kind of goofed around. But I was gathering all of these hand skills and techniques, and that eventually, there was a long pause in between where I was unemployed, or I wasn't working in metal. I was doing some odd jobs, painting, or handyman work. But then I was interviewed for a job on Long Island, doing architectural ironwork, and I went there to work for about 10 months. And I didn't really care for Long Island. The work was okay, but I was spending most of my weekends in Brooklyn. This is the Red Hook waterfront, where I spent just about every weekend working in another person's shop, teaching and assisting and kind of connecting with beginners. And that's my favorite mural that's there. And the work that I was doing was really precise work for a sculpture of a reproduction Liberty Bell. So it was mostly with hand tools, that type of whitesmithing, the bench work that I was interested in. So we were given these 3D printed parts, and it was our task to manifest them in metal to within about 30 thousandths of an inch, all with hand tools. And if you look at this, the lower nut there, this was like a square nut, you can read it something like a topographical map, where it gives you the layers of things, and every errant hammer blow or chisel mark or something like that needed to be replicated in steel. But I can't show you pictures of the finished ones. So after that, I moved to Texas, and this kind of sums up how I like Texas. I was tired of doing this high stress, tight tolerance work, so I wanted to get more just general shop experience. So the guy that I had met in Brooklyn gave me a job, asked me to move down to Texas. It was okay. I learned a lot. Also got to make some stuff, so that's a putty knife that I made for my dad. It's like this running joke in our family that every time my dad tries to do some handyman task, he always buys like a bunch of putty knives for no apparent reason. So I figured I'd give him like the last one that he needs. And then I made some bottle openers, but I was mostly teaching and doing day-to-day tasks. But then I moved out of Texas. That's my girlfriend Marina. So I rented a 16-foot truck, towed my car, and drove all the way through the night to get to Texarkana because Texas is a vast country. And that brings me here. So these are some of the things I've been making here. Again, searching for that refinement, but heading in a little bit more of a different direction as well. I've decided that I need to kind of focus more on mechanism work. So I'm gearing up to kind of study horology a little bit. So horology is clockmaking, or the study of time. So this is the Antikythera mechanism. You may have seen it before. This is the oldest known example of a calendar. It's basically a computer. So I've been looking at objects like this, sundials, things that help navigate by sea, and again, these really refined and embellished objects, but also with this secret. It's used as a tool, but in a theoretical sense. You know, we keep track of time. So that's kind of where I see myself going. Ooh, 10 minutes. Wrap it up. But that's kind of where I see my work going. There's a clockmaking school in New York that I plan on attending in the fall. I just moved into an apartment in Baltimore, which isn't too far. But again, just searching for this refinement and trying to hide things. So that's all I got.